Thank you, Tony. That was a fascinating story about what happened there with Arthur Fiedler. And it happens to be true, which is wonderful. I heard you heard him say it. He said that story is true, and it happens to be the first time in his entire life he's told the truth. Our honoree here tonight, Carmen Carrozza, he was born in Calabria, Italy, and he emigrated to America with his family at a very young age. And he soon began studying music and became very proficient on the violin, the piano, and the accordion. And it wasn't long before his love for the accordion became obvious, and he found himself concentrating solely on mastering the instrument, and of course master it he certainly did. Carmen studied under Pietro Dero, the highly acclaimed accordion professor and concert artist at the Pietro Dero Accordion Conservatory, which was at that time in Greenwich Village, New York. And he graduated from there with the highest of honors. He was a protege of Pietro Dero, and Carmen became well known then as a concert artist. His first appearances were at Carnegie Hall and Town Hall in New York City, Music Hall in Detroit, and the Philadelphia Academy of Music in Philadelphia. Now, during the 50s, Carmen kept busy performing concerts, teaching, composing, arranging, and recording. He was a winner on the Arthur Godfrey Talent Show, and that paved the way to many TV and radio appearances throughout the United States. And he gave the accordion a wonderful exposure that it had never received before. In 1960, a critic for a Boston newspaper, the Christian Science Monitor, wrote, "I never knew a concert accordionist existed, but he does, and he is appearing now at Symphony Hall. His name is Carmen Carrozza, and he is an artist of the highest caliber. His impeccable technique and artistry make attending his performance a rewarding experience." And of course, the critic was writing about Carmen Carrozza's appearance with the Boston Pop Symphony Orchestra under the direction of Arthur Fiedler, and Carmen's premiere performance of Paul Creston's Concerto for Accordion and Orchestra. Of course, that's what Tony was just referring to, the information that we received from him. Now, the performance there with that orchestra was a milestone in accordion history, and it launched the succession of solo performances with many of the major symphonies in the U.S., such as the Cincinnati Orchestra under the direction of Thomas Shippers, the Buffalo Symphony Orchestra, the National Symphony at Kennedy Center in Washington, D.C., and the New York Philharmonic Symphony Orchestra at Lincoln Center, where Carmen performed under the direction of Andre Castellanos. And he premiered the Rubaiyat, written by Alan Hovhaness, and narrated by Douglas Fairbanks, Jr. And that was in Washington, D.C., and Mayor John Lindsay in New York City. He also performed with the San Antonio Symphony Orchestra, James Sedaris conducted, the Baltimore Symphony Orchestra under the direction of Ellen Walter, and the Philadelphia Pops with Peter Narrow, conductor, and just others, just too numerous to mention. Now, Carmen's success on the concert stage is matched only by his contribution to the development of accordion literature. And in this area, he's collaborated with outstanding American composers, and their names read like who's who in American music. For example, Robert Russell Bennett, Henry Cowell, Paul Creston, Alan Hovhaness, Otto Luning, Walford Rieger, William Grant Still, Carlos Surinach, Virgil Thompson, etc. And it just continues to add to this impressive list. Carmen Carrozza considers a solo concert in Town Hall in New York City as one of the high points of his career. At this concert, he performed all original accordion works by many of the aforementioned composers. Shortly thereafter, he was invited to appear with the U.S. Navy Band in a special benefit concert at Carnegie Hall, and was followed by an invitation to perform with the U.S. Army Band at West Point. Now, Carmen holds the title of President of the American Accordionists Association, a national organization devoted to development and preservation of the accordion through local, state, national, international events. He was chosen adjudicator to represent the United States and Germany, Malta, and Canada during international competitions, and was chosen the captain of all adjudicators for all the competitive events. Carmen's traveled extensively throughout Europe with successes in Finland, Italy, Germany, Sweden, Russia, and he was presented with the gold medal from the Italian government after an outstanding performance at the Teatro di Pavia. Did I say that? Exactly. Good. Yes, sir. You sure did. Carmen Carrozza's talent is matched by his gentle personality and his very humanistic virtue. It would be impossible to come up with a list of benefit performances that he has given throughout his professional career. To name just a few: Boy Scouts of America, Boys Town of Italy, many nursing homes, hospitals, and institutions, etc., etc. And for the past few years, he has been the music director of the Circolo da Vinci. He devotes time and talent in order to raise funds for scholarships that are awarded to students of Italian descent. He continues to promote the accordion through educational workshops at schools, colleges, and private music studios. Presently the director of the Northern Westchester Music School in Yorktown, New York, and has been a mentor in the lives of many of his students who have gone on to become successful in the music world. Carmen resides in Thornwood, New York, still Thornwood, right? With his wife Jean, who you met here. He has two grown children, Carmen and Marianne, and he's a proud grandfather of Joseph. All right. Much has been written about the unique artistry of Carmen, and much more surely will be written in the future. But one critic apparently established for all time Carmen Carrozza's esteemed position in the world of classical accordionists when he wrote, "The violin has its Paganini, the piano, its Chopin, and the accordion, its Carrozza. So be it, Carmen Carrozza."
Prestige is there. They have a way about them that maybe they feel that they're better than you. Carmen is not that way. When I was not quite 19 and Stan was 21, we opened our school. And we went to every concert, convention we could go to. And of course, we heard Carmen was thrilled. And she came up and spoke to us. And every time we would go someplace, we wouldn't have to go to him. He came running to us. How are you? Really, he's that kind of person. He's so friendly and warm and wonderful. Precious wife was always there smiling off that. And we thought he was really lucky too. Maybe you can read what it said. Yeah.
We have a plaque for you, sir. And it says, "Presented to Carmen Carrozza for his years of dedication to the accordion as teacher, concert artist, and composer. We appreciate your efforts in presenting the accordion in a positive manner. Every industry has its role model, and we are proud to have you as ours." Presented by the American Accordion Musicological Society, March 6, 1999.
We also have something for you, tell you the time and let you see yourself.
Yeah, look at this.
And there's something else I would like to say. I know we're presenting tonight, we're presenting Carmen as our honoree. But there's another gentleman here that we have to just say thank you, because every time we call and say, "Lenny, we need you," he says, "Yes." I'll say, "Lenny," he'll say, "Yes." I'll go, "Yes." He's always there. Whenever we need him, we love you dearly. And
That's wonderful. My gosh, I wonder if you get a clock with your face on it. That reminds me of a story. Oh, get ready, Tony. You know, there's two ways to communicate with people. One is I'm going to ask Carmen to come up here and just say a few words, but first, not yet. Okay. I too have a very special affinity for this man here. I first met him and knew him back when I was a student. I wasn't a little student, and I was already 18, 19, 20 years old. And participating in concerts or in competitions. Carmen was a judge, and Charlie Mignani was a judge, and Gina Torr, and Charles Nunzio, and playing before these men, and then going to the concerts at night and seeing them perform, and always in awe of what they were doing. And of course, Carmen and all of the great composers that he worked with, and premiering all of those wonderful accordion pieces. And I could go home and get the music and try to learn them, and become very frustrated. But when my career changed and I came back to the accordion in 1987, began studying in earnest on my own to get back to playing the accordion. About 1993, I think it was, or 94, somewhere in there, which is only about 6 years ago, I decided I couldn't do it on my own. I need some help. And I said, I'm going to go to the greatest accordionist that I know in the area and study. And I called up this man and I said, can I come over and take some lessons? And he said, sure, come on over. So I went over to the studio in Yorktown and came in with my accordion and sat down ready to take a lesson. And I'm sure you'll remember this, Carmen. The lesson, I think it was a 3-hour lesson our first night. And that was just to say hello, that's right, because I think I played about 16 bars of a number, and he said, okay, just stop for a minute. And he started telling me things. And he talked for about 2 hours, 2.5 hours. And that was the most valuable talk I had ever heard in music, because then I realized it wasn't necessarily what was on the keyboard, but what was up here, and your knowledge of music, and your knowledge of composers, and the meaning behind the music. And he just, like, things opened up to me that I never even realized before. And this man just made the accordion and the anticipation of studying with him and learning with him so exciting and so challenging. And then we went on and we played a little bit, and he gave me assignments. And first assignment was, and think about this one, play the major scales in the left hand without using counterpieces. And I looked at him, I said, huh? How do you do that? Well, that's what he showed me, and that's what we started. And learned a fluency on the left hand that I never even knew existed. And these are just the little thing, the knowledge that's in this man, and his willingness to share it, his caring to share it with other people, and just give. I'd come back every other week or every 3 weeks for a lesson, and we'd have a 2 or 3 hour session, and it was just like going from here to here, and it was just marvelous. The man, everything that you've heard about him, there's not enough can be said. And I've known him since the AAMS. In fact, the very first year that you performed here, and I was doing the Master of Ceremonies here and introducing the people, and it was my pleasure to introduce Carmen Carrozza. First time in my life I had that opportunity. And he played a few numbers, and he says, Len, get your accordion and come on up here and play with me. And we did, we knocked off a
Couple duets.
couple of duets, we did Dizzy Fingers or something else. Yes. And it was so amazing that, to think that a man that, you had seen on the stages at Carnegie Hall and Town Hall and Boston Pops Orchestra could be a friend and a mentor to you. But that's the kind of man Carmen Carosa is. He's warm, he's genuine. We've had the opportunity since then to break bread together. We played together in Taj Mahal, right, in Atlantic City. I don't mean gambled together. I mean, we played the accordion together. I mean, we've had a lot of fun and some great times, and look forward to him. And we're so happy that we can have him here tonight and honor him. So I'm going to ask him to say a few words to you, Mr. Carmen Carosa.
I'm the luckiest man on earth. As far as music, I did so many beautiful things that I remember. Some concerts I don't like to remember, but you know, just saying to myself, I'm going to do a week with Castellanos. I'm going to do a week with Arthur Fiedler. I'm going to go. So there was 10 years that I lived like a Heifetz. A limousine would take me to the hotel, the limousine would take me back. And when you do such a thing, and I think back now, which I don't think I could get near a stage with a symphony anymore, and it scares me to think about it. But then, they would bring you in and they'd bring you to a room, and they say, stay here, and this is only rehearsal. And they stay here, we'll be in touch with you. There's a radio there, that you could hear the stage, what's going on, and then they start 5 minutes, and you put your accordion on, and 2 minutes, they grab you by your hand, they bring you right to the door of the stage, you open the door, you're out there. And go. And what Tony Attore said, I experienced every time, practically every time, I went to a new orchestra. The thing was a rehearsal. I would walk in with the accordion and get on the stage. The music was there, and you could feel that everyone's saying, "What the hell is this?" and I remember that clearly every time. And at one time when I was doing that in Kennedy Center in Washington, D.C. with the National Symphony, I never got that much. I mean, you could tell in their eyes when I went on that stage, I practically was afraid to sit down. That, what the hell are we doing now? How low can we get? And so I went in, and Castellanos comes out. We did the rehearsal. They were so guilty that they all stood up after the rehearsal, and they all shook my hand. They never heard anything like it. And in other words, you're accepted, musically speaking. But those things, when this is the premiere with Castellanos, the premiere of Rubaiyat, and when I went out there, oh my God, I went out and the stage is all fixed up, and the orchestra's ready, the first violinist already gave the aid, Castellanos comes out, and he says, you go out first. So I'm walking, and I see these eyes. And I forgot where the chair was. I was on the other side of the Castellanos stood by place, and he looked, and I was way down there. Because that's what happens. It still goes on. I don't mind, because I am what I am. I know what I could do, and it doesn't make any difference to me. I got used to it. But that's the story of an accordion. But we did have lovely times together, me and my wife. I met the most wonderful people on earth. I made friends all over. Just tonight, Beverly says, do you know Lenny? I said, do I know Lenny? Just like a brother. So that's the kind of feeling I got in my life. Thank you very, very much. Thanks to Joanne and Stanley. I can never forget you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
This next selection is a contemporary study in rhythm. It's called Rotation for Accordion Opus, written by a German composer, and it's a study in contemporary ideas with mixed rhythms.
Now joining the Westmont Philharmonic Accordion Orchestra will be the great Carmen Carrozza, who will be playing solo with the orchestra accompaniment. The piece they'll be performing is the Mendelssohn Concerto in G minor, third movement. Those of you that were here last year heard the first movement. We usually don't take 52 weeks between.